What's good, Coco family? Welcome back to another video. I'm not going to yap your ears off too much. We're going to just straight get into it. Let's get it.
The most brutal crimes in recent history. How does a rap battle, a contest of words and skill, spiral into an act of unimaginable violence? And how does a survivor endure, defy all odds, and live to tell the tale? On New Year's Day 2014, a quiet, empty lot in Columbus, Georgia, became the setting for a crime so heinous it left seasoned investigators questioning humanity itself. A young woman's talent and confidence during a freestyle rap battle struck a nerve with three men. But instead of accepting defeat, they sought revenge. Revenge so cruel, so calculated, it would shock the nation. Forced at gunpoint to drive to an isolated location, this woman, outnumbered and outpowered, faced relentless violence. Assaulted, shot 10 times and left for dead, her attackers believed they had silenced her forever. But they were wrong. This is not just the story of a crime, it's a confrontation with uncomfortable truths. How do we explain the entitlement that leads to such acts? Why does society struggle to protect women from these horrors? And most importantly, how do we ensure voices like hers are heard and justice is served? As we unravel this story, we'll examine the egos and entitlement that fueled the attack, the courage of a survivor who refused to be erased, and the justice that demanded accountability. This isn't an easy story to hear, but it's one we all need to understand. Stay with us. It's time to face the questions we can no longer ignore. The victim, Brielle Saunders, and the men who turned her life into a nightmare. Robert Johnson, Katori Glover, and Joey Garan. Brielle Saunders was a young, vibrant woman with dreams as big as her talent. Raised in Columbus, Georgia, she grew up surrounded by music. Her father, a gospel musician, introduced her to the power of lyrics, rhythm, and storytelling. By her teenage years, Brielle was a local star in freestyle rap battles, her quick wit and lyrical flow earning her respect in a predominantly male space. She wasn't just talented, she was fearless. Brielle's confidence in her craft made her a standout wherever she went, often drawing crowds eager to hear her turn words into poetry. But her ambition wasn't only about fame. She saw rap as a way to connect, to inspire, and to prove that a woman's voice in hip-hop could carry as much weight as any man's. On the night in question, it was this confidence that led her to Garden Drive, a known gathering spot for local rappers. She wasn't there to make trouble. She was there to compete, to showcase her skill, and to enjoy the thrill of the mic. What she didn't know was that her strength and success would spark envy and rage in the wrong people. But what would become clear in the aftermath is this. Brielle's resilience, forged through years of overcoming challenges, would be the very thing that kept her alive. Now, let's turn to the men who changed the trajectory of Brielle's life forever. Robert Johnson, Katori Glover, and Joey Garan. Each of them carried a history that, when pieced together, revealed a disturbing pattern of anger, violence, and disregard for others. Robert Johnson was the ringleader. At 25, he was already well acquainted with the legal system. His juvenile record painted a troubling picture, including a conviction for forcing an 8-year-old girl to perform unspeakable acts when he was just 13. He claimed the victim had followed him willingly, a chilling glimpse into his warped sense of entitlement. As an adult, Johnson's temper and need for control dominated his interactions. Friends described him as someone who thrived on intimidation, using his physical presence and sharp tongue to keep others in line. Katori Glover, 26, was quieter but no less dangerous. Those who knew him described a man who seemed calm on the surface but could erupt without warning. His criminal record included petty theft and assault. But what stood out most was his impulsiveness. Glover was the kind of person who acted first and thought later, a dangerous quality when combined with Johnson's manipulative tendencies. Joey Garron was the youngest of the trio, at 22. Often overlooked and underestimated, he was the follower, the one who sought validation by aligning himself with stronger personalities. But his insecurities didn't make him any less complicit. In fact, Garron's unpredictability often escalated situations, his need to prove himself leading to acts of recklessness that left destruction in their wake.
Why y'all bum ass niggas even hanging out with each other? I just heard three different bum ass niggas be described, and now all I heard was bum ass nigga. Why y'all all hanging out with each other? It's nothing y'all three hanging out together. It's not gonna cause trouble. All y'all are is trouble individually. So together, I know y'all wreaking havoc. The fuck is y'all around each other for? It's like I don't get why bum ass niggas think they gotta hang out with more bum ass niggas. Elevate yourself and do something else better. Instead, you choose to want to hang out with each other and cause mass havoc. The fuck is wrong with these niggas?
Together, these three men formed a volatile group. Johnson was the leader,
And they all look dirty. They all look like they need a bath. Bum ass niggas. These niggas look so dirty. Like,
the one who set the tone. Glover acted as the enforcer, carrying out orders without hesitation. Garron, desperate for acceptance, filled in the gaps, adding fuel to an already dangerous mix. What brought them together that night on Garden Drive was their shared need for dominance and recognition. But what set them apart was their inability to handle rejection. Brielle's victory in the rap battle wasn't just a loss to them, it was a challenge to their egos. And in their world, where control was everything, that challenge demanded retaliation. It began as a night full of energy and excitement, the kind that often surrounded
I don't even know the full story yet. Lock these fucking niggas up. What the fuck they still on the street for anyway? These are a bunch of bums running around wreaking havoc. Ain't nobody worried about them. Ain't nobody gonna miss them. Lock these motherfuckers up. I just feel like the animals need to be separated from regular citizens. And it's clear that these motherfuckers is animals. Throw these niggas in the cage where they belong in the zoo. The fuck is we even talking about?
underground rap scenes. The party house on Garden Drive was alive with music, laughter, and the quick-fire cadence of freestyle rap battles. Brielle Saunders was in her element, confident, skilled, and ready to take on anyone who stepped up to the mic. The house buzzed with anticipation as Brielle, well known for her sharp wit and lyrical talent, went head-to-head with some of the best freestyle rappers in the room. The crowd gathered close, cheering with every clever line and sharp retort. Among those watching were Robert Johnson, Katori Glover, and Joey Garron. For a while, the rap battles seemed like nothing more than friendly competition. Brielle's energy and skill drew everyone in, including the three men. They watched her with growing fascination, her ability to dominate the battle sparking a mix of admiration and frustration. Eventually, the battle moved from the crowded house to the quieter space of Brielle's car, where she, Johnson, Glover, and Garron continued to freestyle. It seemed, at least for a moment, like a harmless extension of the night's fun. Inside the car, the mood remained light. At first, laughter and rhymes filled the air as the group took turns showcasing their lyrical prowess. Brielle held her ground effortlessly, her verses flowing with the same confidence that had captivated the crowd earlier. But as the night wore on, the dynamic began to shift. Johnson and Glover exchanged glances, their demeanor changing almost imperceptibly. The atmosphere grew tense, though Brielle, engrossed in the music and the moment, didn't immediately notice.
My baby Brielle was in immediate danger. It's like these bum ass niggas would have never made it to my vehicle. Because it's clear that y'all some hating ass niggas. What happened was you seen a beautiful, confident woman that had a passion for what she enjoyed the most, and y'all felt emasculated. Stop playing. Y'all truly felt emasculated. Remember what you got between your legs. You're a man, act as such, but instead they chose to act like little bitches. The fuck is we even talking about here? Like, how did the night turn from it's turned up, it's lit, to the fuck about to happen here? I'm not a.
Then, without warning, Glover pulled out a gun. The air turned icy as Johnson followed suit, his weapon aimed directly at Brielle. The laughter and camaraderie evaporated in an instant. The men ordered Brielle to start driving, their voices sharp and commanding. Her heart pounded as she tried to process what was happening. She complied, gripping the steering wheel tightly as she navigated the streets, unsure of where they were taking her, or why. The tension in the car was suffocating, every second stretching into what felt like hours. As they drove, Glover grew impatient and demanded she pull over. He took control of the wheel, forcing Brielle into the passenger seat. The men exchanged crude remarks, their words laced with malice. Garin, sitting in the back, remained mostly silent, but his uneasy fidgeting suggested he knew exactly where this was heading. The car came to a stop at an abandoned lot on Far Road, a place chosen for its isolation. There were no lights, no sounds, and no one around to witness the horrors about to unfold.
This is super unfortunate because I don't even know what happened for it to turn this way, but I know, ladies, you got to stay strapped in every way, shape, or form. You feel me? Men look at us as victims, and let's not get it twisted. Shit like this can happen to men too, but especially women, they look at us as victims. And this is why you always got to be strapped, because I would have gutted the first one on the side of me. The nigga that's on the side of me would have been gutted, and the ones in the back. Ain't no way in hell. I'd have gutted they necks, and we would have went full throttle after that. Like, come on now. Like, you got to stay strapped because they look at us as victims. You got to pay attention to your surroundings. You got to pay attention to your environment, because I'm sure this beautiful soul, Miss Gabrielle, didn't really notice her environment, about how much they envied and hated that she was so talented, so confident, so prideful about what she did and about this music, that she didn't even notice all the hate that was surrounding her. Because if she'd have noticed that, they'd have never made it to her car.
The cold air bit at Brielle's skin as she sat frozen in the passenger seat, the weight of the moment pressing down on her like a suffocating blanket. The eerie silence of the night was broken only by the low murmurs of the men and the sound of her own racing heartbeat. The lot itself was desolate, overgrown with weeds and littered with debris. Shadows stretched across the barren ground, cast by the faint glow of the moon above. Brielle could feel the chill creeping through her, but it wasn't just the cold. It was fear. She pleaded with the men, her voice steady despite the terror coursing through her. She begged them to let her go, reasoning with them, trying to appeal to any sliver of humanity they might have. But her pleas were met with cruel laughter, their mocking tones cutting through the darkness. They didn't see her as a person anymore. To them, she was an object, a target for their anger and frustration. The laughter only grew louder as Johnson and Glover brandished their weapons, making it clear there would be no escape. What followed was an assault so horrifying that the details would later leave a courtroom in stunned silence. Brielle was forced to strip at gunpoint, her dignity stolen piece by piece. The men degraded her, taking turns assaulting her both physically and sexually. They used their guns as instruments of humiliation, the cold metal pressing against her skin as they took turns inflicting unimaginable pain. They had a good old time. They were passing me around like a piece of cake, Brielle would later testify in court, her voice trembling with the weight of those words. She endured repeated acts of brutality, each one designed to break her spirit. But even in the midst of such cruelty, Brielle's strength remained. She clung to the hope that somehow, some way, she would survive this nightmare. The men's laughter echoed across the empty lot as they took turns violating her. For them, it was a game. For Brielle, it was a fight for her life. When the assault finally ended, the men weren't finished. They attempted to force Brielle into the trunk of her car, their plans unknown but their intent unmistakable. It was then that Brielle saw her chance. With every ounce of strength she had left, she broke free and ran. She didn't think. She just ran, her bare feet pounding against the cold ground as gunshots rang out behind her.
Damn.
Johnson and Glover opened fire, their bullets finding their target again and again. Brielle was hit 10 times, her body collapsing
10 fucking times? What the fuck did she do to deserve that? Y'all assaulted her. Y'all shot at her. I would have tried to run too. You're not getting me in no fucking trunk. That was not happening. It's like y'all did the most savage work to me. You think I'm getting in the, I would have did exactly what she did. Or I'd have been running. But to be met with 10 fucking bullets, what did she do? There was no exchange and aggression or anything for y'all to have done any of this. I'm confused. Y'all just thought it was cool because y'all hated a confident queen. All she was a confident queen, and this is what she was met with. Like, come on now.
to the ground under the weight of her injuries. But even then, she wasn't done fighting. She lay still, her breathing shallow, pretending to be dead as the men approached. Believing their work was finished, the men retrieved a gas can from the trunk of the car. They doused Brielle in gasoline,
What
the
the
acrid
fuck?
smell filling the air, and set her on fire. Flames
You'd have thought she would have hurt your moms or your kids. Like, you would have thought there was a reason. Yeah, doused her in gasoline, shot her 10 times, assault her. What the fuck did she do? These niggas is pussy.
engulfed her body as the men fled, convinced they had erased all evidence of their crime. But Brielle wasn't done. Against all odds, she found the strength to move. Through the pain of her burns and bullet wounds, she crawled inch by inch toward safety. Her body was broken, but her will to live remained unshaken. Passers-by eventually found her, drawn by the faint sound of her cries. They called for help, and Brielle was rushed to the hospital, her life hanging by a thread. Doctors marveled at her survival, calling it nothing short of a miracle. Covered in burns and riddled with bullet wounds, Brielle had endured more than most could imagine. And yet, she was alive. Her story was far from over. What had happened in that lot was only the beginning of a journey toward justice. Stay with us as we explore how Brielle's courage would shine in the days to come, and how her testimony would bring 3 men to account for their crimes.
I love how they thought they could take this beautiful soul, but God was never going to let that happen. God was never going to let that. He's higher power. He's going to always have the last word. And at the end of the day, he said it wasn't her fucking time. But them bitch ass niggas, it's your fucking time. It's your fucking time. Them niggas had no reason. It's like, I hate it. Ugh, my core. It hurts me so much, but God had her. That's why she fucking survived.
As Brielle Saunders fought for her life in the hospital, the wheels of justice began to turn. The case landed on the desk of Lieutenant Lance Deaton, a seasoned investigator with years of experience in handling violent crimes. Yet, even for Deaton, this case stood out. The brutality described by first responders and medical staff left no doubt that this would be one of the most harrowing investigations of his career. Deaton arrived at the scene on Far Road, a desolate and eerie lot still bearing the marks of the previous night's horror. Burnt patches of grass and scattered debris painted a grim picture. Among the evidence were bullet casings, tire marks, and fragments of clothing, a silent testament to the violence that had unfolded there. Forensic technicians meticulously documented every detail, preserving the evidence that would later play a critical role in securing justice. As the investigation unfolded, witnesses from the party on Garden Drive began to come forward. Some recounted seeing Brielle leave with 3 men, identifying them as Robert Johnson, Katori Glover, and Joey Garron. Their descriptions matched what Brielle was able to share from her hospital bed, her voice steady despite the unimaginable pain she was enduring. Forensic evidence further tightened the noose around the perpetrators. DNA
It's crazy because the only thing Gabrielle did wrong was trust another human being. Everybody don't got the intentions you do. Just because your intentions are pure Just because your energy is pure doesn't mean the next person is. I don't care. You don't know this person from a hole in the wall. I don't care if we at a party having a good time. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not going anywhere with you. You're not going anywhere with me. And that'll be the end of this night from there. It'll never made it to my car. That's the only thing that she did wrong here is trust another soul to be as pure as she was. Because people out here are fucking evil. Evil. They're walking around dressed like regular people, but they're the devil. You can't trust everybody.
DNA collected from the crime scene, and Brielle's body confirmed their involvement, leaving no room for doubt. Deaton's team worked tirelessly, piecing together the events of that night, each new discovery solidifying the case against the three men. Once Johnson, Glover, and Garin were identified as suspects, they were swiftly taken into custody. During their interrogations, their stories began to unravel. Each man attempted to shift blame, claiming the events of that night were consensual. But their claims were at odds with the overwhelming evidence. Brielle's detailed testimony, witness accounts, and the forensic findings that painted a damning picture of their actions. The interrogation videos captured their desperation. Johnson maintained a cold arrogance, insisting that Brielle had willingly participated in the night's events. Glover remained stoic, but stumbled over his words when confronted with the DNA evidence. Garin, the youngest and most insecure of the group, broke down under pressure, his nervous fidgeting and inconsistent statements only further.
This motherfucker pussy. All of them pussy. Y'all all shifting blame. What happened? What happened? Why we shifting blame? Stand 10 toes on that. And this bum ass nigga, you was never built like that. You a bum ass nigga trying to fit in. I hate a fitting in ass motherfucker. Be yourself. You wasn't built to act like a fucking savage, but you choose to want to walk around with savages and do savage shit. Fuck out of here. Suck that shit up and stand on that. Take the consequences that are coming your fucking way. Everybody shifting blame. Where was the shifting blame when they was doing all that shit in her car? Where was the shifting blame when them 10 bullets went flying to her? Where was the shifting blame when y'all doused her in fucking gasoline and set this lady on fire? Now everybody shifting blame? Nah, stand 10 toes on that shit. Y'all was 10 toes. Stand on it. The fuck is we talking about?
Implicating him. Their arrests sent shockwaves through the community. As the details of the attack became public, outrage grew. The brutality of the crime and the lack of remorse shown by the perpetrators left many in disbelief. Rallies were held in support of Brielle, with community members demanding justice and ensuring her voice would not be silenced. Lieutenant Deaton, reflecting on the case, later described it as one of the most brutal he had ever encountered. Yet, he also spoke of the remarkable courage shown by Brielle and the unwavering determination of his team to bring her attackers to justice. As the men awaited trial, the stage was set for a courtroom battle that would expose the depths of their cruelty and test the limits of the justice system. The courtroom was silent as Brielle Saunders took the stand. Every eye in the room was on her, yet she remained composed, determined to tell her story. It wasn't just her courage on display. It was her will to ensure her attackers were held accountable for their actions. Brielle's testimony was nothing short of heartbreaking. In vivid detail, she recounted the events of that night. She spoke about the laughter that filled the car before it turned to threats, the cold air of the abandoned lot, and the excruciating pain of the assault. Every word carried the weight of her trauma, yet she delivered it with a strength that commanded the room. When they were
Even after all of that, a strength that just the room felt it. It's like her passion is the same thing as her rapping. She's passionate and believe they are going to be sent to justice. Justice will be served. They thought they could get rid of her. I guarantee they faces was shocked when they seen her come to that courtroom. Calm as a bitch and she got to bite real fucking hard.
done, they tried to throw me in the trunk like I was trash, she said, her voice trembling but steady. I thought I was going to die, but I ran. I had to run. Gasps rippled through the gallery as she described being shot 10 times, doused in gasoline, and set on fire. "They didn't think I'd survive," she continued. "But I did, and I'm here today because I refused to let them win." The defense attorneys attempted to counter her testimony, pleading for leniency for their clients. They painted Johnson, Glover, and Garron as men who had made terrible mistakes but were capable of redemption.
No fucking redemption. They essayed her. They shot her up. And they doused gasoline. Me personally, I think asses should be took to their private parts and lock them up for the rest of their fucking lives and let them enjoy that looking like a fucking Barbie doll. Like, you know how the Barbie dolls look or the Ken dolls look where there's nothing there? I think they should live like that for the rest of their fucking lives in jail. That's just me personally. I don't know why they don't add that to the fucking law. Douse some acid on that bad boy. Remove them. Douse the acid. Make it real burnt up where there's nothing there. And that would never happen again. They wouldn't even have a thought process. Then they might be ready for redemption after that. Because, baby, once that's gone, the mentality, they're going to feel weak. They were already weak when they did what they did to her, but they're going to feel real weak if we douse some acid on that shit.
"My client has expressed deep remorse," said Adam Deaver, Katori Glover's attorney.
Fuck that.
"He's willing to take responsibility for his actions, and I ask this court to consider his potential for rehabilitation." But prosecutor Sadhana Daly was relentless. She dismantled the defense's arguments with precision, presenting overwhelming evidence of the defendant's actions and their lack of genuine remorse. "These men didn't just attack Brielle, they dehumanized her," Daly said. "Their actions were calculated, cruel, and entirely devoid of empathy.
Big facts.
They didn't show her mercy then, and they don't deserve mercy
And
now."
they ain't getting it.
Daly pointed to the interrogation videos where the men claimed Brielle had consented to the assault, knowing full well they had forced her at gunpoint. She also highlighted Johnson's juvenile record, which included a prior sexual offense, to underscore the danger they posed to society. "They treated her like an object, disposable and insignificant," Daly declared. "This court must send a clear message that such evil will not go unpunished." Judge Art Smith III delivered his verdict with the gravity the case demanded. Johnson, Glover, and Garron sat motionless as he read out their sentences, the weight of their punishment sinking in with every word. Johnson and Glover received 6 life sentences plus 95 years, while Garron received 5 life sentences plus 70 years.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Just add the acid on top, and then we good. That is exactly what they deserve. 95 and 70 years. Y'all bitch ass niggas ain't never coming the fuck out. Y'all might as well just die in there. Y'all done. No parole, no nada. Done. Fuck out of here.
Their crimes, aggravated assault, rape, sodomy, kidnapping, and more, were met with the harshest penalties the law could impose. Judge Smith's words were scathing as he addressed the defendants. "The testimony in this case is among the most brutal I've heard in my tenure as a Superior Court judge," he said. "You treated Ms. Saunders as though her life had no value, as though she was disposable. But she proved you wrong. Her will to survive has brought us here today."
Amen. God's work. She was never leaving this earth. It wasn't her time. And these funky ass niggas was never gonna take it from her.
"And now you must face the consequences of your inhumanity." The sentences were met with relief and applause from the gallery, where Brielle's family and supporters sat. The community's demand for justice had been heard, and the men who had sought to destroy Brielle's life would now spend the rest of theirs behind bars. The trial was a victory for justice, but it was also a testament to Brielle's courage. She had faced her attackers, shared her story, and ensured they could never harm another person again. As the courtroom emptied, one thing was clear. This was more than a legal battle. It was a fight for dignity, accountability, and the enduring power of resilience. Stay with us as we reflect on the aftermath of the case and how Brielle's strength continues to inspire those around her. Brielle Saunders' recovery was nothing short of miraculous. Her physical wounds, 10 gunshot injuries and severe burns, required months of intensive care and rehabilitation. But the emotional scars would take even longer to heal. Surrounded by her family and community, Brielle found strength in their unwavering support. They rallied around her, proving that while the attack had broken her body, her spirit remained unshaken. The impact of Brielle's story rippled far beyond her personal journey. Her case sparked a rallying cry for justice, shining a harsh light on the epidemic of violence against women. Community leaders called for changes to local policies, including increased protections for vulnerable individuals and harsher penalties for violent offenders. Her bravery inspired countless others to speak out, ensuring that her story was not just about pain, but also about empowerment. This case serves.
Don't this lady look like Lemon Pepper's wife from Baddies? You know, I think her name Janae, who do the reunions. She looked like Lemon Pepper's wife from Baddies. I wonder if that's her.
As a stark reminder of the importance of justice and the resilience of the human spirit. Brielle's courage showed that even in the face of unimaginable pain, survival and triumph are possible. But it also leaves us with a question. What can we do as a society to ensure that no one else endures such suffering? The answer lies in awareness, accountability, and a commitment to standing with survivors. As we look back on this story, we are reminded of the sheer bravery of Brielle Saunders, the relentless pursuit of justice by law enforcement, and the accountability delivered in the courtroom. This was a case that exposed the depths of human cruelty, but also revealed the strength of one woman's will to survive. We invite you to reflect on this story. What lessons can we take from it? How can we, as a society, do more to protect those at risk?
I don't see anything that could have been done different. I don't see anything that could have been different. You feel me? Nothing at all. All right, y'all. Until the next one, ladies and gents, we out of here.